Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests. And today I'm honored to go to Washington, D.C., a person who's newly moved to Washington, D.C., Virginie Glaenzer, with her family. And in her biography, the short biography, and it's a very long biography, she's a fractional CMO. We learn about this. And she has been a writer. She's a podcaster. And in 2023, Virginie released the book, The Abundance Economy. But she's also interested in exploring Web3 as a user builder and fractional CMO for her clients. Welcome, Virginie. Maybe you add a little more to that list, what you have done and what you're doing today.
Hi, Suzanne. It's an honor to be in your podcast. I'm really excited by this conversation. You've said it all. As a fractional CMO, I'm very curious to learn about the new trends, not just in marketing. I'm also fundamentally someone who challenges the status quo. Maybe that's why I was so good in the beginning of my career in sales, because when someone said no, I would find a way to get back in. I wouldn't take no or hard belief seriously. I've been exploring this emerging economy that is not only built on Web3, but I think it has to do something with abundance.
Mm-hmm. First of all, let's get a little deeper into what is a fractional CMO. When I was preparing for this podcast, I'm like, what is fractional? Obviously, it makes sense. Give us an insight for the listeners so we don't have to Google. We get it from you, please.
Of course. But fundamentally, a fractional CMO is a fractional executive who is giving a fraction of their time to organizations. But it's very different from consulting or from project-based freelancing. It's really started after the COVID area. With COVID, people or a lot of organizations realized that they could have a very loyal team who was working remotely and who may not be full-time. And so for a small and mid-sized company, it's a game changer. It's an amazing opportunity to have professional executive without having the full salary. I usually spend 1 to 3 days per week with one organization, and I have their emails and I'm part of the team. I do whatever needs to be done in order for the company to reach their next phase of growth. It's the evolution of the gig economy. Yeah. Most people are very familiar from hiring project-based freelancers, but now you have access to executive, whether you're an early stage startup to even a more mature organization.
I think this is fantastic. In a way, we went through difficult times with the pandemic, but also it gave us opportunities and new ways of working.
I believe an opportunity for women more specifically, and for a couple of reasons. The first one is there's no office politics when you do fractional work. And that's such a relief. I've had a seat at the table. I've had the budget and the team. But unfortunately, there's so much biases that comes with being a woman that I never felt that I was free to do the strategy, to do the changes that I was originally hired for. Fractional work allows me to be really free. I'm not protecting my job. I know it's time limited. It really bypasses all the office politics. And then the second thing is that it fits into a lifestyle. All of us in some point in our career, we've been burned out. When you work 1 to 3 days a week while still making enough to support your family and pay the bills, it really gives you the extra time to think about your well-being, your body, the resting phase that you need. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. What comes to my mind actually when I was looking at that fractional CMO is, I think once you're a CMO like you're always a CMO at heart. You give your everything and you really explained it nicely, especially for women. You can work 3 days, you have the liberty, you have the freedom to do great work and also get connected to great people.
Exactly.
And what industries do you see are open for that fractional time that you're offering?
The new emerging industry who are more likely to embrace changes like technology, anything online, they're going to be even fintech, they're going to be looking at what are the opportunities to bring on the skill set that I need, more perhaps than the legacy industry like manufacturing or old industry. But there recently was an article on the New York Times. The word is getting out, and at AcornOak, we're getting very busy.
Okay, wonderful. I like that. And is that connected to Web3 or how is
No,
that?
not at all. No. Web3 is the next evolution of the internet. That in itself, as a marketer, I'm always trying to stay on top of new trends and technology, but it is connected, however, to the economy of abundance. Because whether you look at it from the market with all the layoff, a lot of people are establishing themselves or repositioning themselves as fractional or freelancers. There hasn't been as many freelancers and independent workers that there are today, no matter what the age groups are. But the market has been increasingly busy with offering thousands of product for each type of product. There's definitely an abundance that is happening.
Yeah. Well, we all need that. And I feel like it's exciting to learn new things. And everybody's talking about AI, ChatGPT. We need to, if you want, we have to be part of it. If we say no to everything, then what good is that? And how do you involve others in your forward thinking? That's one of the questions I'm curious about.
In order for me to stay on top of trends, I spend a lot of time in learning, whether it's using YouTube videos or attending events. But I'm also learning through the writing part, the practice. For example, I'm very interested in Web3. I've built my own token. I'm interested in learning how to evolve leadership practices instead of having a top-down type of organization. I want to learn more about distributed organizations. At AcornOak, that's what I'm doing. I learn a lot by practicing myself. And of course, being with other people who are interested in learning.
Oh, fascinating. And I know we met a few years ago at White Roof Project. You were bidding and I provided some coaching for you. So that was exciting. But you also offered an abundance workshop. Tell us a little bit more about that. And I hope you continue.
There's something interesting is happening which is actually connected to Web3. Web3 is the next wave of innovation of what we used to call World Wide Web. And it's powered by blockchain. In the mid 90s, you might remember Web 1, which was really read-only pages like Yahoo. Web 2 started in 2005, and that's when we saw the social platform. People started to interact between one another, and there was dynamic content created. Think of Facebook and blog. Web 3 is about access to ownership. And the reason is it embeds new ways to distribute and exchange values. This has given individual opportunities through co-creation, owning shares of stock. And so these technologies are powering also a new set of desires. I think what we're seeing in society is that people no longer want to be attached to one organization. They want to be free to have multiple sources of income and really be valued by the type of creation that they are responsible for. And so that's one of the sources of this economy of abundance. But there's another side of it. The other side is that I truly believe that there's enough for everyone in the planet. It's very hard to understand that idea because we've been conditioned and trained to believe that the world is scarce. Even if you look at the entire finance world and industry, everything is created through the lens of scarcity. That's not true. There is enough for everyone on the planet. And really, for an individual, it starts by asking one question. And that question is, how much is enough? That's a very personal question. If you are the head of a family of 5, the how much is going to be quite different. And if you're in a single individual, but the question is, how much money do you need in your bank account to sleep at night? How many pairs of shoes do you need to be confident? How much stuff do you need around you? And when you do that exercise, you realize that you have way too much. And the too much, and you were mentioning that I just moved from New York City. I was 10 years in New York City in an apartment and moved to a house in DC. But we can have so much stuff that it's hard to let go.
You moved from an apartment to the house. You brought everything, or you got rid of a few things? I'm wondering.
The ultimate goal is to become a nomad, which means having very little. And at the same time, trying to become minimalist. Minimalist is really looking at what are the essential items that I need in order to be fulfilled. I don't need 10 pair of shoes. I don't need the thing that I might use one day. It was a really interesting experience to move and to consciously get rid of things.
What was the hardest to get rid of? Because initially, I need to get rid of my books. And I was like, I cannot get rid of my books. They were my friends, my go-to. And then after a while, when I read the book, I give it to somebody. I don't know what changed. And the shoes,
Books are very difficult. I didn't have any issue getting rid of clothes. I like to wear the same thing over and over again. The books, the album photos, that was difficult. And then there are art pieces, either because I've been painting for many years and I had to give those away and throw them away, and it is what it is. The books also were quite challenging, and I had to go multiple times to my library or to my bookshelf where I have all those books and do a second round of, okay, now let's take 10 out of them. And then
this is a fascinating question, like how much is enough?
Yeah.
And what can we let go of?
Yeah. And I remember that the first time I did fasting, I learned that I was eating way too much. There is an opportunity to learn when we challenge our own thinking. Mm-hmm. And how much is enough is such a door opening question. Because we get stuck with our stuff.
Yeah.
The same way that we get stuck with our own identity, this persona that we're creating online, this perception of who we think we are. And that prevents us from evolving, from growing. At AcornOak, we are a very small community of fractional executive women. And when we have a new member, I design a bio page, which is a much better way to tell your story than your LinkedIn profile. But this bio page tells a particular story. And I tell each member every 4, 5, 6 months, you have to revisit the story that you're telling about yourself. You have to let go of some of the things and add new things, because otherwise we don't have room to grow. And I think in order to learn, you have to challenge some of the belief and the learning that you've acquired. Otherwise, there's no more room to learn.
I'm just listening to you in awe and thinking, what can I change? And I know it's that renewal phase. And obviously, when we look back, let's say 10 years ago, where was I 10 years ago? What has changed? That's to me amazing. Or sometimes people say, revisit your LinkedIn profile. I'm like, oh, yeah, this doesn't apply to me anymore. I think this is a very good idea. I think after this podcast, I need to go to my LinkedIn and my biography and change a few things. But
and I think the same way that what we eat and the way we carry our body or care for our body, we should every 5, if not 5, every 10 years, we should take a really hard look at ourselves so we can become the person that we're not yet, instead of not paying attention to our needs and reacting only when there's crisis. That's the thing. We get comfortable. We like routines. We're creatures of habits, but habits is not in our favor. The mind, our thinking mind, our rational mind doesn't want us truly to be happy. It wants us to stay safe. Don't change anything. Stay the way you are. And if there's a crisis, sure. But when in fact, what we should do is every day we should wake up and check in with ourselves. What do I need in this moment? What do I feel like? Instead of being like a robot. And I think as we were talking about fractional, which is the marketplace is being disrupted by this new way of acquiring talent. The market is being transforming. And if you allow yourself to transform, I think you'll be much more in tune with how the world is evolving.
And we have to keep growing. And obviously my thing is always like the lifelong learning. If we don't learn, then we're
dying. We're dying. We're literally dying. Because it's like I think there's an American saying about the muscle, you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
And the same thing, if you don't learn something, it's not that you're not learning, it's actually you're depriving yourself from the nourishment that you need in order to stay interested by life and having this feeling that you're on top. Otherwise, you'll get overwhelmed very easily. Talk about AI, how overwhelming it is. As a marketer, every 3 months, I go through a training. I find free video online on generative AI and the latest tool and it's exhausting to learn.
Yeah, it is. Now, I have a final question for you. What do you do when you don't work and learn? It seems like you're always going with the trends. And what do you do when you don't work?
It's funny because recently I challenged the word working because, again, we've been ingrained with the idea that work is what we do in life and we have to figure it out. I have no idea what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm creating. I'm co-creating. That's really what I enjoy. And creating may take the shape and form of working with an organization as a fractional CMO, but it could also be reading a book, writing a book, walking with my dog, and being in a moment of being in the present, looking at the leaves on the floor. To me, that's creating. That's the type of thing that I like to do. And being in DC, of course, you'll find me in museum with my computer, staring at not 4 hours on end. I would go to the coffee place or area that they have, since they're all free, and then I'll work a little bit, and then I'll go and find a painting or pieces of art and stare at it, and then come back. And
I want to join you. I always, as we said before the recording, DC to me is like the abundance of museums, to use that word, the abundance of museum is just amazing. Thank you so much for the glimpse into your life, and we wish you good luck, and we want to see more of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you're welcome to come join me in DC anytime.
I will. Thank you. What do you have in abundance? What are you getting rid of? And how does your profile look like? Many good questions we touch upon today. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday with very interesting people. We can learn with them. We can grow with them. Come and join us again. Take it from the Ironwoman is also the book, Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore. See you next time. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.